Hello, and welcome to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast. I'm Erin DeVos, and I'll be your host for this season. Join us for insightful interviews that explore the work of up-and-coming independent filmmakers from all over the world. If you're passionate about film and keen to learning about the creative process from the future cinema greats, this podcast is a must-listen for you. Our mission is to provide listeners with the engaging and informative conversations about successful and innovative films, including features, shorts, documentaries, animation, and web series from across the globe. The DCIFF Film Chat Podcast is a unique opportunity for independent filmmakers to have their voices heard in a way no other film festival can provide. You can listen to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast on all podcast platforms or visit our website at DCIFF-indie.org/DCIFF-podcast. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the DCFF Film Chat Podcast. Today, I'm welcoming the filmmakers of On Beyond Fences, which is a documentary film that will be showcasing during our Powerful Stories program on Saturday, February 15th. Here I have Lara, Jack, and Wesley joining me today. So welcome all to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, yes. I'm really excited to be chatting with you all today. And so, I guess to kick things off, do you guys mind sharing a little bit about yourselves, who you are, and also about your film?
You start, Lara.
So I am DC based. I'm a DC suburb. I'm an independent journalist and producer, and I've worked in TV news for over 25 years in covering stories across Asia and Europe and here in the U.S. And I have a long association with BBC News, first in London and then here in DC. And I work in sort of program, field, long form, special projects and planning, producing roles. And I've also freelanced for other broadcast news and documentary and digital clients. But this was the first time I've worked on that I've filmed and directed, co-filmed, co-directed a documentary. I've been involved in other documentaries in producing roles, CBS Pipeline and on Smithsonian Channel, but this is the first independent one that I, sort of filmed in the beginning and saw through to I was going to say bitter end, but it's not bitter. Bittersweet, maybe? All the way to where we are now. And about the film. So On Beyond Fences is a documentary short about reform and redemption inside Maine State Prison. It had its beginnings inside the prison. We were five of us, 4 students and our instructor at the Maine Media Workshop in college in Rockport, Maine. There was a 4-week documentary course that we took. And at the end, towards the end of the course, we were embedded for a week inside Maine State Prison. And it was part of our sort of final collaborative projects that we did together. And myself and the 3 colleagues here, along with our instructor and another colleague, we were filming there and ended up focusing on 3 inmates and staffers involved in the gardening and beekeeping program. After we sort of scattered across the world, I recognized that we had a lot of great material still left in the can. And I spent the next 10 months working with 3-4 different editors, sort of elevating it and restructuring it and making it into the film that it is now.
Awesome.
Let the others speak.
I'll go next. So my name is Jack Kudas. I am an author and filmmaker from Kennebunkport, Maine. I study my film at Maine Media Workshops in college, where we filmed this documentary that I got to co-direct and executive produce. Yeah, it was really cool gaining exclusive access into Maine State Prison and seeing the variety of awesome programs that they provide for their residents. They do not call them inmates, they call them residents. so that when they do return and do come back into society, they contribute in a positive way and come back better than when they came in. And I think the most important thing I saw that was really cool was actually the staff and the commissioner and the group of people that are working so hard to offer these programs to these individuals to give them a second chance. That's a little bit about the prison and about me in a nutshell. So there you go.
My name is Wesley Smith. I am out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I am a data center engineer by night and a camera guy by day. And that's how I met these other two up in Maine. And piggybacking off what Jack said, it was, I don't even know how to describe it still, and it's been months and months and months, but it was an experience going into that prison. We were sold on it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And I remember pulling Jack aside and like, I don't know, Jack. I don't know, you know. And so, but we end up there, and it's everything that Mike said it was. There's flower gardens, and there's a culinary program, and there's woodworking shops, and it was just a really cool experience. I've studied some film stuff at Duke University. They have a program they have a documentary program there, and obviously some more stuff at Maine Media with these folks. And yeah.
So great having you all, and thank you for sharing not only just about yourselves, but about the film and the different perspectives. So I can't wait to get into it too. And one thing I wanted to ask, and I think you guys kind of hinted at too, like how, you're from all over, from different states, like how did you find each other and want to collaborate on this film?
So it was at Maine Media Workshop, 4-week documentary course where we all met and got to know each other and kind of clicked. We all came from different backgrounds. I was the only journalist there on this shoot. I did most of the research and interviews, but everyone filmed and everyone, directed and edited a piece of the film. And then our instructor, Tom Donohue, sort of pulled it all together and did the master edit for the student film for that first incarnation. And then I went on to, hire a couple more editors to bring more out of it. There was so much that we had left in the can that was so compelling and great sound bites and great moments. Brought in more music and some I got a special effects editor for the top and tail montage, because one of the characters we focus on is the former warden of the prison who produced these initiatives, which are based on the Scandinavian approach to incarceration. So more sort of gentler way of dealing with inmates. As Jack said, they use a different language, even in dealing with them, calling them residents instead of inmates or prisoners. And it has evolved. This prison has evolved quite dramatically from its very beginnings, when it was quite a brutal, violent prison with a notorious reputation for its conditions, where, prisoners used to smear their feces on the walls out of desperation and sort of mental breakdown. And it's a prison whose beginnings Stephen King based his short story Shawshank Redemption, which became the beloved film, on, because it had such a notorious reputation. And since then it's evolved over the years. It moved from one location to another, and as I said, they've introduced these reforms and this different approach to incarceration that they hope is modeled.
Yeah, as in seeing the film and hearing about Stephen King's and that inspiration that came behind it, just seeing how it all connected, but also the evolution of it too, how Jack, you and Lara too, how you guys mentioned the language they even talk to prisoners now, and I'm sure the film also dives into that as well, but just even that shift in language and shift in perspective really helps, I say, society, by saying in the sense how the prisoners, once they're released, and to be able to have sense of having a softer language on themselves, but importantly what they have experienced. So I really appreciate you going into that detail, which also reminds me to ask, how did you gain access to film inside the prison, and what challenges had come with that?
Once we kind of knew what we were doing and we contacted the prison, the one thing that's really cool about Maine State Prison is they want to get this out there. they want to show their change in what they're doing and the variety of programs because they want to change other prison systems. So the thing that was really cool is like when I first heard we were going to Maine State Prison, I was, one of the first to be like, I don't like this idea. I don't agree with this. And my mind was actually one of the first to change because of personal things that have happened in the family and things like that. But when you walk in to Maine State Prison, it doesn't even feel like you're out of prison. It feels like you're almost like at a garden center and you're seeing all the pots, the flower pots, and you see what they're building and what they're creating. And you're seeing people that you first, when you walked in there, had a bad opinion on, but that changed instantly once you saw them. They walked up to you, shook your hand, said, "Nice to meet you. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're telling my story. I'm happy I'm able to show people that I'm not what I used to be. I'm not the person I once was." And I think that it was actually, as crazy as it sounds, where like we gained exclusive access, it wasn't really as difficult as I think it could, people think it could be. But I think it's because of Maine State Prison being so motivated to get their voice out there to others.
Yeah.
So they wanted us in there as much as we wanted to be there. So yeah, so it wasn't as crazy or difficult as you would think.
Oh, I love to hear that because, just hearing like access to films and, people's lives and choosing like who to even interview for your documentary too, which I'm very curious about knowing the different stories. So I'm glad that it wasn't complicated.
The access was actually very, very easy. As Jack said, they want us in there and telling stories about what they're doing. It was kind of deciding which ones to do. Those
Who you're interviewing.
Of choices. I had been inside 2 different maximum security prisons before, as this one is, and had done a story on Puppies Behind Bars program at upstate New York prison. I did another one on a reading sort of program. There's higher education, there's woodworking, there's a debate team, there's yoga, there's all kinds of just interesting visually that we had to sort of narrow it down. And then, of course, it was who we could talk to. And that is actually a bit more restricted because, it has to go through victim services. The people who we put on screen have to be vetted on that end to make sure that victims are okay or victims' families are okay with them being interviewed and shown on screen. And so everybody else, we had to avoid filming, pixelate, or just not film. It was these 3, there were 4, but we narrowed it down to 3 men that we wanted to film and then sort of worked around that. And then there were staffers that we could film.
Yeah, because a lot of actually the residents there were really motivated. Some of them walked up to me. They really wanted to be on camera. They really wanted to tell people their story. Like they were eager to be a part of it, but we were just not able to because, like Lara said, they had to contact victim services and make sure it was okay with the families that have gone through those hardships. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I can only imagine. And through, I guess, yeah, in some ways, like that's very, just thinking like HIPAA and all that. What was one of the most surprising things that you learned while making this documentary?
For me, like I touched on before, was you're very biased before you walk into any type of prison system. So like what you see on television with 60 Days In or these different types of TV shows, you see the negative side of prison. And you see the horrible side and the angry side, and you see like the part where it almost tells people like these people aren't human. But the funny thing is when I went to Maine State Prison, I saw the exact opposite of that. So what I learned is that from this whole experience is that people deserve a second chance and that you're not defined by your worst moment. And many people walked up to me in that prison and said, "I don't know who I was 10 years back. I don't know who I was when I did that crime. That's not who I am." So I think what I've taken is not to judge a book by its cover and go and experience these different types of things because your mind could change very fast. So I would say that's what I learned is that people deserve a second chance and that people can change.
I love that.
I'll take it. I agree with everything Jack said, and I think I'll take it from a different perspective. The other thing is, if you've never made a film is a team sport. There was 5 of us, we didn't know each other, and by the end of that 4 weeks and spending a week in prison, 3 of us have constantly kept in contact with each other. And, the 3 here. And it's wild. Jack and I played football in high school and stuff like that, so we're used to sports and everything like that. So it was an instant bond for us. But even working with Lara and then Sylvia and Tom, it's just you don't unless you make one of these, you don't realize that how much you depend on that other person. If it wasn't for Lara's eye, the film wouldn't be what it is today. It would still be that student film that we left when we left Maine Media. And so it's one of those really cool things, I think she used the word embedded, and that's a really good word. When you embed with a group, you come out the other end just a little bit closer, and we've just kept adding on to that. So
Definitely. And with that being said, then, like with working with multiple directors, how did you all collaborate on storytelling and filming?
Well, I think one thing that helped us with that is we all kind of picked what we wanted to do. What did we want to see at the prison? I knew I wanted to do yoga, and I knew I wanted to be with the bees. I wanted to go and see the beehives. I knew that's one thing that no one was going to take away. I needed to see the beehives. I needed to go out with Sean and everybody else to go and see these things. So we kind of picked what we wanted to do very badly. And then we went and that was ours to direct. That was ours to take control of. And also that was ours to edit. So we got our sections and that was ours we had to trust each other also on our editing too as well then. And trust, okay, Lara's going to do her section. Wes is going to do his section. Jack is going to do his section. So everybody kind of had their different programs that they wanted to show. And some made the cut and some didn't, but we really got to pick and choose. And then we went off that.
I also think once you spend that much time with people and if you pay a little bit of attention, you realize their strong point. And so you realize who's more visual and you realize who's a really, really strong interviewer. We were able to, once we got to know each other, really focus on everybody's strengths. And then when we got out of the class and the film was a student film, we were able to focus even more on a very in particular strength of Lara's. And so, you spend that much time and you focus on some strengths and I guess it just comes together.
And it brings everyone together. So,
As the only journalist on the team, I was kind of pushed into doing most of the interviews, which I actually didn't mind. I really love that part of filmmaking. From my work as a journalist, I really dove into that. Really, really, really enjoyed the former warden, who I didn't finish. The former warden is now the Department of Corrections commissioner. And there are some surprises about him. I don't want to spoil it. He's got such a compelling story. And then we were able to, by sort of kismet and all the stars aligning, the campus where we were staying at Maine Media Workshop, where we were taking this documentary course. Two of the people who are groundskeepers happen to be former guards at the prison. So we took them back and walked them through the prison where they used to guard and got their perspective on some of the changes that taken place since they were gone and some of their, some of the history that they brought. So that was an interesting perspective as well. And then the woman who oversaw the beekeeping and gardening program, who really was sort of the mother hen to these men. It was wonderful to speak to her as well. So yeah, we got a really good sort of perspective on these programs and how they impact not only the residents, but the staffers as well. The thing we did not get was the point of view of victims. And I thought that was an important voice to bring in. And so I asked each of the people I interviewed the standard question of, what do you say to people who think you're coddling these prisoners, giving them all these privileges and freedoms and opportunities? And most of them thought it helped everybody. It helped lower the temperature in the environment for the staffers and for the prisoners. And obviously it helps readjust them for when they re-enter society.
I'd love to hear all the value of collaboration and how each of your particular projects that you had worked on really conveyed this into such a well-done documentary. That's super informative. And Lara, hearing the different types of perspectives that each of you, but also like the interviewees had brought into this too, because that's something I was also kind of subconsciously thinking about. I was just like, well, what about, the victims and kind of like the recognition of that, even though they are getting like interviewed and being treated a certain way at this type of prison system. So I appreciate you highlighting that as well. And just the different ways it sounds like, I mean, in some ways it sounds like a lovely prison to go to, as weird as that may sound, but just kind of hearing through what each of the experiences have brought. So, which also,
I don't want it to sound completely like rainbows.
oh,
and
well,
unicorns.
right. No.
While we were there, for instance, there was a rash of overdoses. It is a prison.
Yeah.
Bad things happen there. Bad people are there.
Hmm.
But this is sort of this shining light, an opportunity that many prisoners would like to take part in. Not everybody gets to have these. It is something to aspire to and model.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. No, I appreciate you expanding on that because, yeah, I guess what I mean by good is just kind of like how, where it was and kind of hearing the different types of ways that the processes that have changed, like through the prison reform and incarceration and such like that. So I guess that's kind of where I was coming from there. So I appreciate you expanding on that because, yeah, no, I feel you. It's not all happy being at prison. That's for sure. And that, I guess, kind of thinking on that note too, like what role does storytelling play in shaping conversations around prison reform?
I think it's really important because, like I was talking about earlier, you see how prison is portrayed in when you put on 60 Days In or any other TV show talking about prison, talking about inmates or residents. You get this look that, oh man, it's all bad. These guys are bad. They don't deserve a second chance. They deserve to be locked away forever. And that's what they throw at you because that's what sells, right? And I think that's what makes ours like really great is because we decided to take a different turn. We're going to show the happy side of what prison could be if other prison systems are willing to take the chance. So I think it was really cool. I think a lot of people, at least when other film festivals that we have gone to, have come up to me and said, I really appreciate that because I'm always used to when I watch a prison documentary or I watch anything about prison, it's sad. It's depressing. You leave and you go, oh, poor guy. This is like, it gave me hope. And one of the earlier film festivals that we went to in Thrive, that one focuses solely on incarceration. So a lot of the people there were formerly incarcerated and they walked up to me and they were like, this gave me hope. This gives me hope that, for the future, that people not all going to be looked at as bad guys forever. So I think how you portray and how you choose to film things and how you choose to show things is important because that's how other people who are going to see that film are going to view it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool that how we decided to do something different and go a different route than the average filmmaker when it comes to prison. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. And yeah, this has been such a great conversation and really appreciate each of you coming here today. Is there anything that I may not have asked or things that we haven't mentioned that you wanted to share?
I would leave off with one thing, and I think I would just like to give some advice to any other filmmakers out there who are going into film or are wondering how to do it and how they should do it. And the best advice I could give to them is, as a filmmaker, is just to go out and do it, no matter how cheesy or how crazy your idea is. The best way to learn how to make a film, and the best way I've been learning how to make a film, is by going out and filming it. You're going to learn when you go back to the editing room. Oh man, this shot's not as how I thought it was going to be. Oh, this is not edited oh, the framing's messed up here. Oh, I jumped the line here. But you learn your mistakes by creating more and more and more and more. So my best advice for a filmmaker is to go out and do it, write your idea, go tell people about it, go film it with your friends as your actor. If you need them to act in it, who cares? Go and make your film. And then you're a director. So don't overthink it. So just go out and do it. That's what I would say.
I think the key message that I'd like people to be aware of is that for those people involved in this kind of work, it's important to humanize those who are incarcerated, because when you sort of lock them up and throw away the key and turn your back on them, you're going to get the obvious results. You can get someone who's angry. You can get somebody who hasn't recovered from drug addiction. You're going to get someone who's unskilled or unsocialized and as lost as when they came in. As one of our characters, former guard that we interviewed, Scott Drake, that he concludes is that, a lot of these guys get out and they're going to move next door to you. And he said he didn't want somebody who's messed up and has issues living next to him. He wanted somebody who had gotten his mind right. So it's about preparing inmates to re-enter the community, with skills and with purpose.
Yeah, and I think mine's similar to that. I'll piggyback off what Laura was saying. I just think rehabilitation, the impact of that is so much more positive than corrections. So that old model of how, and we mentioned that, one of the characters mentions that in our film, how prisons used to be run to the way they're running it in Maine. It's just, when you really see it, it's shocking.
And I want to add on to what everybody else said. And this is what I've spoken about to other people too. You can't put someone in a cage or a white room and expect them to grow as an individual or learn from their mistakes. But if you give that same person flowers to grow, poems to write, songs to sing, things to build, you will see a total transformation in that individual. So I couldn't be more thankful. This was one of the first documentaries I had the honor of working on. And it's just been an honor working with Lara and Wes and getting to go to a school with them for 4 weeks and see how they work and how they do it, and just take little bits and pieces from them, right? You learn from every single person you're with. So it's just been an honor, and I can't wait for DC. I can't wait to be in DC. We're so excited.
Yes, no, so much looking forward to meeting you all in person, having your film screen with us at our festival this year. So no, it's going to be great, and really appreciate you all, telling the story too. It's very important work that you are doing, and I'm very fascinated with documentaries myself. So this is going to be great. So again, you can catch On Beyond FENCES at our DCIFF 2025, which will be showcasing on Saturday, February 15th. Again, looking forward to meeting you all so much, and thank you again for joining us for the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you. Buy tickets.
Thank you.
Buy tickets.
Please.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having us.
This podcast is brought to you by the DCIFF supporters. We could not be here without all of you to be sharing this amazing outlet with filmmakers from around the world. If you are interested in supporting DCIFF, head on over to our website through the link description in the bio of this episode, or you can go right to the website, which is DCIFF-INDIE.org, to connect with us and learn more about our Future of Film programs, our festival, and also more educational opportunities in what we do with our high school students, community, and beyond. We look forward to your support.